And thanks to everyone for all the technical help. But we had a bit of a problem with cables and whatever. Anyway, I'm here now. I better get started before the cables hear me talking about them. My name's Judy Pratten. I'm going to talk about your legacy as a teacher. What's your legacy? The idea for this talk came from a visit to a conference in the UK. I was off the conference circuit for a couple of years, and I went along to a one-day conference in Brighton. And in the coffee break, we were all networking, chatting to teachers, and I'm saying, what do you do, and where do you work, and what have you done? And I was really impressed by the way, actually in a negative way, a lot of teachers say, well, I'm just a teacher, I haven't really done much, I just teach, and I work in school, and yeah, I worked in Spain once. And I was really upset by the way people were so apologetic about they were just teachers, And when you actually talk to them and you realize what they've done, they've worked all over the place, they've written materials, they've run schools, they've managed people, they've taught all different kinds of things right across the board, from young learners to ESP. And then they're going, well, I don't know, I haven't really left my mark anywhere. I haven't written any books, and I don't speak at conferences. So this upset me, and so I thought what I'd do is create a project called What's Your Legacy, initially, to make people realize what a lot they've actually contributed, how much people have contributed and are continuously contributing to the profession. I haven't actually started that project in a way because I've been looking into my own legacy. So, I'm one of those teachers. I've taught young learners. I've taught latterly a lot of ESP. I taught banking English for a while. I've written several publications about banking English. And after a while of doing that, I thought, well, these bankers have got us in a bit of a mess. And I'm teaching them how to get us into more of a mess, perhaps, by giving them the language to negotiate and to communicate in meetings. So my last banking publication actually pointed the finger at bankers, and there were a lot of issues in the book about accountability and responsibility. And actually you realize you're right, Ruth just put a comment up there, they're people, So I became a bit anti-banker, and then I realized, well, these are just people doing a job, and they're so busy doing the day-to-day job, a lot of the time they haven't thought about accountability, they're just doing it, and, So we started with leading questions to various issues on bailout, banking crisis, bankruptcy. Putting the finger on bankers a little bit, do you feel responsible? Do you think if bankers are negligent, what should happen? Should they take the blame? And I found that bankers were quite good at pointing the fingers at themselves. So I'm not sure where to go to the next slide now. Do I just click on that? Okay. So anyway, what's your legacy? Obviously, everybody has a legacy, and bankers are people like all of us, they make mistakes, but they also want to think about what they're leaving behind. So perhaps I hope I've encouraged some bankers to leave the profession or to think about how they're going to clean it up. So the banking industry, I think, is trying to clean up its act. And I think the next thing is the business environment. Can we move on now and stock again? Yeah, now let's move the slide onto the next one. So just to go back for a while, I was talking to teachers, as I said, at that conference, and the top 5 answers to the question, what's your legacy, were kind of little details about teaching. So can we go to the first one? Yeah. So I've probably asked about 200 teachers at various conferences what they think they leave behind. And people say things like, yeah, inspiration, I can go inspire them. Yeah, that's great, you know. The next one, if we can move on. Somebody moving it down, yeah. Yeah, I think I've shown what a good teacher is. So again, you know, they've gained from my expertise. They've learnt a lot. I've clarified certain issues that weren't clear to them by just teaching them, you know. And moving on to the next. I think I'm efficient. I've showed them how to, I think teacher trainers tend to say, you know, they've shown teachers how to manage their classes, how to plan their classes, how to deliver, you know, in an efficient way. So this is the kind of stuff that people came up with. And can we just move down to the next one? Next point. Yeah, things like, you know, I think I got a lot of students through their exams. So those are the top four. And then we had a lot of things like, yeah, I motivate them. My classes are interesting. They learned a lot about sense of humor from me. They had fun and they learned, which, you know, they're all great things. But I was probably looking for a deeper thing, for, you know, what are you going to leave behind you kind of thing. So after I'd finished with the banking industry, and I have done quite a lot of business English teaching, I then went to look at a lot of business English textbooks. They seemed much of a muchness to me, and there has been a lot of talk recently in the BSIG conferences, the Business English Special Interest Group, that about new business English. That business English is changing and it's new, and we're looking for a new approach. And maybe we can go to the next slide there as well. When I looked at that, it seemed that when people talked about new business English, they were actually talking about the packaging, you know, about publishing, about how we can make the books look different. They weren't really talking about the topics. It seems to me that many of the published materials by the big publishers are the same stuff. They look the same as they were 20 years ago. The pictures are the same. The topics are going to be the same. We're going to talk about managing people and business mission statements and you know, all the usual business stuff. But it seems that this has all been packaged in the multinational companies. So I don't like going to a class with a unit about mission statement and it's about Coca-Cola or McDonald's or Starbucks. I'm sorry, but it doesn't wash to me. You know, multinational companies. You know, I hope there's nobody there that's working for McDonald's, but it doesn't really wash for me. So I changed the topic from new business English to good business English. So what does good business English mean? It means, again, going back to those core values of responsibility, accountability, and transparency, and actually looking at the social culture, intercultural communication. So I am now going back to basic. I'm starting to write a course called Good Business English, and all the companies that are actually mentioned in the book or covered in the book will be sustainable and ethical companies that are really thinking about the way the world's going. We have to think about our future hand in hand with what we're going to leave behind for the future generation. So so I came up with this thing, what good business English means, because, you know, I'm sure you've got an impression. It's accountable. It should be transparent. It should be clear. It should follow the rules. We should be able to see the accounts. It should be responsible and ethical and sustainable. So those are the kind of issues that I'm looking at. And the final point that I'd like to talk about is an initiative which I have recently launched, which is I hope it's going to be my legacy, something I'm quite proud of. It's a very new initiative, and this initiative is called Heart ELT. This is a project that is aimed at the Syrian refugee kids. I was contacted by someone within the camp who was trying to do something for the kids. They all have food, they all have clothes, but they're not actually doing anything. They have no activities, no school, nothing actually being done to stimulate them, and a lot of those kids are traumatized. So if you'd like to know more about that project, I've got a crowdfunding platform set up. There's also a Facebook page which is called Heart ELT. It would be great if some of you got in touch and gave us a hand. We're looking for donations not only of funds, but materials, ideas, any kind of activities that you've got that would be suitable from 4 to 10-year-olds to initially get them into a play area and doing some games, some fun things. A lot of the kids speak a bit of English. In the Iraqi and Turkish camps, they often communicate with the volunteers there from the World Health Organization in English, so they're using English. There's also recently I've had the opportunity to speak to Nelly Deutsch about this, and she's actually invited me to join a group, and I'm sure that she can post the details if you'd like to get more information about that. I think it's really going to help my project now because I've been quite isolated.